How to achieve financial freedom. Think differently. Speak confidently. Hi, welcome to the Mindset English channel. I'm Michael Carter. Welcome back. If you're new here, this channel is not about difficult grammar, confusing rules, or trying to sound like someone you're not. This channel is about helping you use English confidently in real life. And today's topic is how to achieve financial freedom. Now, before we go any further, let me say something important. This is not a finance class. This is not about complicated money terms. This is not about becoming rich overnight. This is about understanding ideas, changing mindset, and using English naturally while learning something meaningful. Because when you learn English through real ideas, your brain stays engaged, and engaged learning stays longer. So relax, listen, and let the language come to you. Many people work hard every day. They wake up early. They go to work, they do their job, they come home tired, and still they feel stuck. They ask themselves quiet questions at night. Why am I working so hard but still struggling? Why does money always feel stressful? Is this how life will always be? These questions are universal. People ask them in every country. And this is why financial freedom is such a powerful topic. Financial freedom does not mean being rich. Financial freedom means having control. Control over your time. Control over your choices. Control over your future. And here is something most people don't realize. Financial freedom starts in the mind, not in the bank. Before money changes, thinking must change. Most people are taught one simple idea from childhood. Work hard, get paid, spend money, repeat. And for many people, that cycle never changes. They work more, they earn more, but they also spend more. So even when income increases, stress stays the same. That is not freedom. That is a treadmill, running, but not moving forward. Now here is the first mindset shift. Income and freedom are not the same thing. You can earn a lot of money and still feel trapped. You can earn less money and feel more free. The difference is how you use money, not how much you make. Financial freedom begins when money becomes a tool, not a boss. And this idea is very important for English learners too. Because just like money, many people treat English as a boss. They fear it. They feel controlled by it. They think it judges them. But English, like money, should be a tool to communicate, a tool to learn, a tool to grow. That's why learning English through topics like financial freedom is powerful. You are learning language and life skills at the same time. Now let's talk about the word freedom. Freedom does not mean doing nothing. Freedom means having options. When you are financially free, you have options. You can choose where to work. You can choose how much to work. You can choose what matters to you. Without financial freedom, choices are limited. People say yes when they want to say no. They stay in situations they don't like. They postpone their dreams, not because they are weak, but because they feel trapped. And here is an important truth. Most people are not trapped by lack of ability. They are trapped by lack of planning and awareness. Financial freedom is not luck. It is a process, a slow, step-by-step process. And today, we will begin that process at the thinking level. Because before action comes understanding. Many people believe financial freedom is about earning more money. That is only part of the picture. Earning more without understanding leads to more problems. The real foundation of financial freedom is understanding how money works, controlling spending habits, thinking long-term, using time wisely, and most importantly, not living only for today. This does not mean you stop enjoying life. It means you balance now and later. Financially free people think differently about time. They ask, how can I make today easier for my future self? This mindset is rare. That is why financial freedom is rare. Now let me connect this back to English learning. Many English learners also live only for today. They say, I'll learn later. I'll speak when I'm ready. I'll practice when I feel confident. But confidence comes after action, not before. The same rule applies to money and English. Small daily actions create big long-term results. In money, in language, in life. Another important idea is delayed comfort. Most people choose comfort now and pain later. Financially free people choose small discomfort now for comfort later. This could mean saving instead of spending, learning instead of relaxing, planning instead of reacting. These choices are not easy, but they are simple. And simple things, done consistently, change lives. Now let me be very clear. Financial freedom does not require perfection. It requires direction. You don't need to know everything. You don't need to start big. You need to start aware. Aware of where your money goes. Aware of your habits. Aware of your long-term goals. Awareness is power. And awareness begins with education. That is why this topic matters. You are not just learning English words today. You are learning ideas. Ideas that can change how you see work, money, and your future. And when English becomes the language of those ideas, it becomes meaningful. Meaningful English is remembered. Now let me leave you with one strong thought before we move on. Financial freedom is not about escaping work. It is about choosing work. It is about working because you want to, not because you are afraid. Fear is the enemy of freedom, and understanding is the cure. In the next segment, we will talk about why working harder is not always the answer, and how smart systems, not endless effort, lead to real freedom. We will keep the English clear, the ideas simple, and the mindset strong. Stay with me. This journey is just beginning. Segment 2. Why working harder is not always the answer. Now, let's continue. In the first segment, we talked about what financial freedom really means. Not becoming rich, but gaining control. Control over your time. Control over your choices. Control over your future. Now, in this segment, we need to talk about a very common belief. A belief almost everyone grows up with. If I just work harder, everything will be okay. This idea sounds positive. It sounds responsible. It sounds correct. But here is the truth. Working harder alone does not lead to financial freedom. In many cases, it leads to burnout, not freedom. Let's talk about why. Most people trade time for money. They work a certain number of hours. They get paid for those hours. When the hours stop, the money stops. This system is not bad. It helps people survive. But survival is not freedom. If your income depends only on your time, your freedom is limited. There are only 24 hours in a day. You cannot work more than that. So even if you work harder, there is a limit. And when people hit that limit, they feel frustrated. They say, "I'm doing everything right. I'm working hard. Why am I still stuck?" The answer is simple. Hard work without strategy has limits. Let me be clear. Hard work is important. But hard work must be directed, not endless. Financially free people do not avoid work. They avoid unfocused work. They ask different questions. Instead of asking, "How many hours can I work?" they ask, "How can I make my work more valuable?" This is a very important mindset shift. Value matters more than effort. Think about this. Two people can work the same number of hours. One struggles. One grows. Why? Because one is building skills, systems, or assets. The other is only trading time. This does not mean everyone must start a business. It means everyone must start thinking differently. And this thinking is something you can learn in any country at any income level. Many people believe financial freedom is only for rich countries. That belief is false. Financial freedom starts with habits, not geography. People everywhere face the same problem: spending more than they earn, not planning long-term, reacting instead of designing their life. And this is why mindset matters more than location. Now let's connect this to English learning again. Many English learners also believe, "If I just study harder, I'll be fluent." So they study grammar for years. They memorize rules. They work very hard. But when it's time to speak, they freeze. Why? Because effort without the right method does not work. The same rule applies to money. Effort must be guided. Another common mistake is confusing busy with productive. Being busy feels good. It feels responsible. But busy does not always mean progress. Many people stay busy to avoid thinking. Thinking is uncomfortable. Thinking forces you to face questions like, "Is this the right path? Is this helping my future? What do I really want?" Financially free people think before they act. They slow down mentally, even if they move fast physically. Here is a powerful idea. Money flows to value, not effort. You can work very hard doing something that has low value. And you can earn more by doing something that solves a bigger problem. This does not mean cheating or shortcuts. It means learning, useful skills, problem solving, communication, decision-making. And yes, English plays a big role here, because English connects you to global knowledge, better opportunities, higher value skills. English itself is not money, but English is a multiplier. It multiplies your access, and access creates options. Now let's talk about systems. Financial freedom is built through systems, not motivation. Motivation comes and goes. Systems stay. A system is a simple process you follow consistently. For example, saving a small amount regularly, learning one skill steadily, tracking spending monthly. These actions are not exciting, but they are powerful. Most people fail not because they lack motivation. They fail because they lack structure. Working harder often feels easier than building systems. Why? Because systems require thinking, and thinking forces responsibility. But responsibility is the price of freedom. Another important point is delayed results. Financial freedom does not give instant rewards. That is why many people quit early. They want fast results. But real freedom grows slowly, like language fluency, like confidence, like skill. People who succeed understand this. They do not panic when results are slow. They stay consistent. Now let's address fear. Many people are afraid to change how they work. They think, what if this fails? What if I waste time? But staying stuck is also a risk, and often it is the bigger risk. Financial freedom requires calculated courage, not reckless action, but thoughtful steps forward. Let me say something important here. You do not need to quit your job. You do not need to take big risks. You do not need to know everything. You only need to start thinking beyond survival. Start asking, how can today's effort help tomorrow? How can I learn while I earn? How can I reduce stress in the future? These questions change everything. And finally, remember this. Working harder is not wrong, but working harder without direction is dangerous. It can trap you in a cycle of exhaustion. Financial freedom begins when effort meets clarity, and clarity comes from learning, from reflection, from mindset. In the next segment, we will talk about income versus wealth, why many people earn money but never build freedom, and how understanding this difference changes your financial future. Stay with me. This is where things start to get practical. Segment 3. Income versus wealth. Why earning money is not the same as being free. Now let's go deeper. In the last segment, we talked about why working harder is not always the answer. We talked about limits. We talked about systems. We talked about thinking differently. In this segment, we need to understand a critical difference. A difference that changes how people live their entire lives. That difference is income versus wealth. Many people confuse these two ideas, and that confusion is one of the biggest reasons people never reach financial freedom. Let's start with a simple question. What is income? Income is the money you receive regularly. Your salary, your wages, your monthly pay. Income helps you survive. You use it to pay rent, buy food, pay bills, live day to day. Income is necessary, but income alone does not create freedom. Now let's ask a different question. What is wealth? Wealth is not about how much money you make. Wealth is about how long you can live without working. That idea surprises many people. But think about it carefully. If you stop working today, how long can you survive comfortably? 1 week? 1 month? 1 year? That answer tells you more about your financial position than your salary ever will. Wealth is about security and time. And time is the real currency of freedom. Here is a powerful truth. You can have a high income and still have no wealth. Many people earn good money, but they spend everything. They upgrade their lifestyle every time income increases. Bigger house, better car, more expenses. So even though they earn more, they feel just as stressed. Sometimes more stressed. This is called lifestyle inflation, and it is one of the biggest enemies of wealth. Now let's look at the opposite situation. You can have a modest income and still build wealth. How? By controlling expenses, by saving consistently, by thinking long-term. Wealth is built quietly. It is not flashy. It does not look impressive on social media, but it gives peace. This is where mindset becomes very important. Most people are taught to focus on income. They ask, "How much do you make?" They rarely ask, "How much do you keep?" "How much do you save?" "How long can you survive without working?" Financially free people ask different questions. Let me explain this with a simple idea. Income is speed. Wealth is direction. You can run very fast in the wrong direction. You will get tired. You will burn out. But you will not reach freedom. Wealth is about moving slowly in the right direction. That direction is stability, flexibility, long-term thinking. Now let's connect this idea to English learning again. Many English learners focus only on input. They watch videos. They study grammar. They learn vocabulary. That is like income. It feels productive. But if they never use English, never build confidence, never speak, they don't build fluency. Fluency is like wealth. It comes from consistent use, not just effort. The same logic applies to money. Another important concept is delayed gratification. This means choosing a smaller reward now for a bigger reward later. For example, saving instead of spending, learning instead of relaxing, investing time instead of wasting it. Most people know this idea, but knowing is not the same as doing. Doing requires discipline, and discipline requires a clear why. Financial freedom is that why. Now let's talk about assets, but in simple language. An asset is something that helps you in the future. It does not have to be complex. Examples include savings, skills, education, useful knowledge. Even English is an asset, because English opens doors. It gives access to better jobs, global information, higher value skills. So when you learn English, you are not just learning a language. You are building personal wealth, not money wealth yet, but opportunity wealth. This is very important for learners in non-English speaking countries. English gives you access beyond your local environment. It allows you to learn from global experts, work with international clients, understand new ideas earlier. That access increases your long-term options, and options are freedom. Now let's talk about expenses. Expenses are not bad. You need to spend money to live. But uncontrolled spending destroys wealth. Many people spend emotionally. They buy things to feel better, to impress others, to escape stress. This creates a cycle. Stress, spending, more stress. Financially aware people break this cycle. They pause before spending. They ask, "Do I need this? Will this help my future?" This pause is powerful. It changes behavior. Another key difference between income and wealth is stability. Income can stop suddenly. A job can end. A company can close. A crisis can happen. Wealth protects you during uncertainty. Even small savings provide psychological relief. Peace of mind is part of freedom. Let me be very clear. You do not need to be rich to build wealth. You need awareness, consistency, patience. Many people fail because they think, I don't earn enough to save. But saving is a habit, not a number. Even small amounts matter, because habits shape identity, and identity shapes behavior. Now here is an important mindset shift. Stop measuring success by income alone. Start measuring success by reduced stress, increased control, better choices. These are signs of real progress. Let me end this segment with a powerful thought. Income keeps you alive. Wealth gives you options. Options give you freedom. And freedom allows you to live intentionally, not reactively. In the next segment, we will talk about spending, saving, and awareness. How small daily decisions quietly decide your financial future. We will keep the language simple, the ideas practical, and the mindset strong. Stay with me. This is where clarity turns into action. Segment 4. Spending, saving, and awareness. Small decisions that shape your future. Now let's move forward. In the last segment, we talked about the difference between income and wealth. We talked about why earning money alone does not create freedom. And we talked about how wealth is really about time, stability, and options. In this segment, we are going to talk about something very practical. Something that affects your financial life every single day. Spending and saving. Not in a complicated way, not with difficult financial terms, but in a simple, human way. Because financial freedom is not built by big decisions once a year. It is built by small decisions every day. Let's start with spending. Spending is normal. You need to spend money to live. Food, rent, transport, utilities. There is nothing wrong with spending. The problem is not spending. The problem is unaware spending. Most people do not know where their money goes. They spend first. They think later. At the end of the month, they feel confused. They say, "I don't understand where my money went." This feeling is very common, and it is the first sign of lack of awareness. Financially free people are not perfect. They also spend money, but they spend with intention. They know what they earn, what they spend. Why they spend awareness is the foundation. Without awareness, there is no control, and without control, there is no freedom. Now let's talk about a very important idea. Every purchase is a decision about your future. This does not mean you should never enjoy life. It means you should pause, just for a moment. Before spending, ask yourself, do I really need this? Will this help me or just distract me? Am I buying this because I want it, or because I feel stressed? That pause changes everything. It breaks automatic behavior. And automatic behavior is what keeps people stuck. Many people spend emotionally. They buy things to feel better, reduce stress, escape boredom, impress others. This is understandable, but emotional spending is dangerous. Because the good feeling is short. The financial stress stays. Financially aware people learn to separate emotions from spending. They find other ways to relax. Walking, learning, resting, improving skills. These habits cost less and give more. Now let's talk about saving. Saving is not about how much money you earn. Saving is about habit. Many people say, "I don't earn enough to save." But the truth is, if you don't save when income is low, You won't save when income is high. Saving is a behavior, not a number. Even small savings matter, because saving builds discipline, confidence, security, and security reduces fear. Let me explain something important. Saving is paying yourself first. Most people pay everyone else first. Rent, bills, expenses, and if something is left, they save. Usually, nothing is left. Financially aware people reverse this. They save a small amount first. Then they live on the rest. This simple change creates control. Saving does not need to be dramatic. It does not need to be painful. It needs to be consistent. Small amounts, saved regularly, grow over time. And more importantly, they change how you think. You stop feeling helpless. You start feeling responsible. Responsibility is empowering. Now, let's connect this to English learning again. Many English learners spend time without awareness. They watch random videos. They jump between apps. They study without a plan. They feel busy, but not confident. This is the same pattern as money. Effort without awareness leads to frustration. But when you study with intention, even 10-15 minutes a day, progress becomes visible. The principle is the same. Now let's talk about tracking. You do not need complex tools. You do not need spreadsheets. You just need to know how much comes in, how much goes out. Even writing it once a month helps. Tracking is not about judging yourself. It is about seeing reality. And reality is where change begins. Another important idea is simplicity. Financial freedom does not require complicated strategies. It requires simple rules followed consistently. For example, spend less than you earn, save something every month. Avoid unnecessary debt. Simple rules are powerful. Complex rules are easy to ignore. Let's talk briefly about debt. Debt is not always bad, but uncontrolled debt steals freedom. When you owe money, part of your future is already spent. Financially aware people are careful with debt. They ask, is this debt helping my future or hurting it? This question matters. Now let's talk about time perspective. Most people think short-term. What do I want today? How do I feel now? Financial freedom requires long-term thinking. What do I want next year? How do I want my life to feel? This shift takes practice, but it changes everything. Here is a powerful mindset shift. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be consistent. You will make mistakes. You will overspend sometimes. That is okay. The goal is awareness, not perfection. Each month, you learn. Each month, you improve. Now let me say something very important. Financial freedom is not about becoming someone else. It is about becoming more aware of yourself, your habits, your fears, your goals. Awareness creates choice. Choice creates freedom. Let's end this segment with a clear message. You do not need more money to start changing your financial life. You need awareness, small habits, patience. Small daily decisions decide big futures. In the next segment, we will talk about skills, value, and long-term growth. How increasing your value, not just your income, creates real freedom. Stay with me. This is where mindset turns into momentum. Segment 5. Skills, value, and long-term growth. How freedom is really built. Now let's continue. In the last segment, we talked about spending, saving, and awareness. We talked about how small daily decisions quietly shape your financial future. Now we move to one of the most important ideas in the entire journey toward financial freedom. Value. Not money, not income, not luck. Value. Because in the long run, money flows to value, and freedom follows the same path. Let's start with a simple question. Why do some people earn more over time, while others stay stuck, even though they work just as hard? The answer is not effort. The answer is skills. Skills create value. Value creates opportunity. Opportunity creates choice. And choice is freedom. Many people believe their income is fixed. They think, this is my job. This is my salary. This is my limit. But income is not fixed. It is connected to what you can do, what you know, and how useful you are to others. This is why learning is so important. Not learning random things. Learning useful skills. Now let's clarify something important. Skills do not need to be complicated. They do not need to be technical. They need to be useful. Examples of useful skills include communication, problem-solving, teaching, writing, organizing, learning quickly, adapting to change, and yes, English is one of the most powerful skills of all, because English multiplies other skills. Let's talk about English for a moment. English alone is not money, but English gives you access. Access to global knowledge, international opportunities, better tools, wider markets. That access increases your value, and when your value increases, your options increase. This is especially important for learners in non-English speaking countries. English connects you to the world beyond your location. That connection changes what is possible. Now let's talk about a mindset shift. Many people think, I will learn skills after I become successful. But successful people think differently. They think, I will become successful because I learn skills. Learning comes first. Results come later. This requires patience. But patience is a key ingredient of freedom. Another important idea is long-term growth. Financial freedom is not built in months. It is built over years. That idea scares some people. They say, that's too slow. But here is the truth. Time will pass anyway. The question is, will you grow during that time or stay the same? Let me say something very important. You do not need to learn everything. You do not need to chase every trend. You need to choose one direction and move consistently. Consistency beats intensity. 10 minutes of learning every day beats 5 hours once a month. This applies to English. This applies to skills. This applies to money. Now let's talk about value versus effort. Effort is invisible to the market. The world does not pay for how hard you try. It pays for results, solutions, usefulness. This does not mean the world is unfair. It means the world rewards impact, not struggle. Understanding this removes frustration. You stop asking, why am I not rewarded? And start asking, how can I become more useful? That question changes everything. Another important concept is learning while earning. You do not need to stop your life to improve. You do not need to quit your job. You can, Learn after work. Practice on weekends. Improve gradually. Financially free people build skills quietly. They don't wait for permission. They invest in themselves. Now, let's connect this to English learning again. Many learners want fluency fast, but fluency is a byproduct, not a goal. When you listen daily, speak a little every day, use English for real topics, fluency grows naturally. The same is true for value. When you learn consistently, apply what you learn, stay patient, value grows naturally. Let's talk about confidence. Confidence does not come from motivation. It comes from competence. When you know you can do something, fear decreases. That is true in English. That is true in money. Skills reduce fear. Fear keeps people stuck. Freedom requires reduced fear. Now, let me address a common fear. Some people think, what if I learn, but nothing changes? That fear is understandable. But not learning guarantees nothing will change. Learning creates possibility, and possibility is the beginning of freedom. Another key idea is compounding. Small improvements, repeated over time, create big results. This is true for savings, skills, language, mindset. 1% improvement per day seems small, but over time, it changes everything. Most people quit before compounding works. Financially free people stay consistent long enough to see results. Now let's talk about identity. You do not become financially free by copying others. You become financially free by becoming a learner. A person who adapts, grows, improves. Learning becomes part of who you are. That identity protects your future. Let me say this clearly. You do not need luck. You do not need special talent. You need curiosity, consistency, patience. These are available to everyone. Let's end this segment with a powerful truth. Your future income is connected to your future value. And your future value depends on what you learn today. Small learning today. Bigger options tomorrow. In the next segment, we will talk about time, focus, and distractions. How most people lose freedom not because of money, but because of how they use their time. This is a very important conversation. Stay with me. This is where long-term growth becomes intentional freedom. Segment 6. Time, focus, and distractions. The hidden cost of a distracted life. Now, let's move forward. So far, we have talked about mindset, income versus wealth, spending and saving, and building value through skills. All of these matter. But now we come to something even more fundamental. Time. Because no matter who you are, where you live, or how much money you have the same 24 hours in a day. Financial freedom is not only about money, it is deeply connected to how you use your time. And this is where many people lose their future, quietly, slowly, without noticing. Let me start with a simple truth. Money can be earned again. Money can be replaced. Time cannot. Once a day is gone, it is gone forever. And yet, most people treat time as if it is unlimited. They waste it. They give it away. They spend it without thinking. Then later, they feel stuck. Here is the uncomfortable truth. Most people are not poor because they lack ability. They are stuck because their attention is constantly distracted. Distraction is the silent enemy of freedom. Think about a normal day. You wake up. You check your phone. You scroll. You react to messages. You move from one task to another. At the end of the day, you feel tired. But when you ask yourself, what did I really build today? The answer is often unclear. This is not laziness. This is unfocused living. Financially free people protect their attention. They understand something most people ignore. Where your attention goes, your life follows. If your attention goes to distractions, your life becomes reactive. If your attention goes to growth, your life becomes intentional. Let's talk about focus. Focus does not mean working all day. Focus means choosing what matters and giving it your best energy. You do not need to do many things. You need to do a few important things consistently. Most people fail not because they do too little. They fail because they do too much that does not matter. Now let's talk about distractions. Distractions feel harmless. Social media, endless videos, constant notifications. Each one takes a small piece of your attention, but together they take your future. This happens slowly. That is why it is dangerous. Here is a powerful idea. Distractions are not neutral. They are expensive. They cost time, focus, mental energy, long-term growth. But because the cost is invisible, people ignore it. Financially aware, people do not. Now let's connect this to English learning again. Many English learners say, I don't have time. But the truth is, they have time. They just lose it to distractions. 10 minutes of focused English practice every day is enough. But it requires intention. And intention requires boundaries. The same applies to financial freedom. You do not need massive action. You need protected time. Time to learn, plan, reflect, improve. Even 20 to 30 minutes a day can change your direction over time. Another important idea is energy management. Not all hours are equal. Some hours are high energy. Some are low energy. Financially free people learn to use their best energy for their most important tasks. They do not waste their best hours on distractions. They use them for learning skills, building systems, improving themselves. This is not about working harder. It is about working smarter with your energy. Now let's talk about saying no. This is very important. Many people are busy because they say yes to everything. They say yes to unnecessary tasks, other people's priorities, constant interruptions, and they say no to themselves. Financial freedom requires the ability to say no, not rudely, not aggressively, but clearly. Every yes is a no to something else. Choose carefully. Here is a mindset shift. Busy is not productive. Focused is productive. Being busy feels safe. Being focused feels uncomfortable at first, because focus forces you to face what matters. But that discomfort is where growth happens. Now let's talk about long-term focus. Financial freedom requires patience. Patience requires focus. When you are distracted, you chase short-term pleasure. When you are focused, you build long-term value. This is why many people start strong, but quit early. They lose focus. Let me give you a simple daily rule. Each day, ask yourself, what is one small thing I can do today that helps my future? Just one. It could be learning English for 10 minutes, reading something useful, planning your finances, practicing a skill. One focused action a day is powerful. Now let's talk about environment. Your environment affects your focus. If your phone is always in your hand, focus becomes difficult. If notifications are always on, attention is divided. Financially free people design their environment. They reduce distractions. They create space for thinking. This is not extreme. It is intentional. Let's address a fear. Some people think, if I focus too much, I will miss out. But the truth is, if you do not focus, you miss your own potential. You can enjoy life and still protect your attention. Balance is possible. Now let me say something very important. You do not need to change everything at once. You only need to become slightly more aware. Notice where your time goes. What drains you? What helps you grow? Awareness is the first step. Here is a powerful truth. Financial freedom is built in quiet moments of focus, not in dramatic actions, not in sudden decisions, but in daily choices about attention. Let's end this segment with clarity. You do not lack time. You lack focus, and focus can be trained. In the final segment, we will bring everything together. We will talk about designing your life intentionally. How mindset, money, skills, time, and English all connect into one clear direction. This is where understanding becomes action. Stay with me. You are closer than you think. Segment 7. Designing your life intentionally. The real meaning of financial freedom. Now we arrive at the final segment. Take a moment and slow down. You've stayed through this entire journey. From mindset to work, to income and wealth, to spending, saving, skills, time, and focus. And now it's time to bring everything together, because financial freedom is not just about money. Financial freedom is about designing your life intentionally. Most people do not design their life. They react to it. They react to bills. They react to jobs. They react to pressure. They react to expectations. Life happens to them, not by them. And that is the opposite of freedom. Let me say this clearly. Financial freedom does not suddenly arrive one day. It is not a destination you wake up to. It is something you build slowly, through decisions, habits, and direction. And it starts with one powerful question. What kind of life do I actually want? Not what society wants, not what others expect, not what feels safe, but what you want. Many people avoid this question because it feels uncomfortable. If you ask that question, you must take responsibility. And responsibility feels heavy at first. But responsibility is also liberating, because when you take responsibility, you take control. Designing your life does not mean having everything planned. It means having clarity. Clarity about what matters, what does not, what you are building toward. Without clarity, money is confusing. With clarity, money becomes a tool. Let's connect all the ideas we've discussed. Mindset. You learned that freedom starts in the mind. If you believe you are trapped, you will act trapped. If you believe change is possible, you will move forward. Work. You learned that working harder is not always the answer. Working with direction matters more than endless effort. Income versus wealth. You learned that income helps you survive, but wealth gives you options. Spending and saving. You learned that awareness matters more than perfection. Small decisions shape big futures. Skills and value. You learned that value creates opportunity, and learning is an investment in your future self. Time and focus. You learned that attention is your most valuable resource. Where your focus goes, your life follows. All of these pieces connect. They are not separate topics. They are parts of one system, your life. Now let's talk about intentional living. Intentional living means you stop drifting. You stop saying, "This is just how life is," and you start saying, "This is what I am building." You don't need a perfect plan. You need a direction. Even a simple direction is powerful. For example, I want less stress. I want more control over my time. I want more options in the future. Those are valid goals. Freedom looks different for everyone. Here is an important mindset shift. You don't need to escape your life. You need to redesign it. Many people think freedom means quitting everything. That is not true. Freedom often means changing how you think, changing how you spend, changing how you learn, changing how you use time. Small changes, applied consistently, change everything. Now, let's talk about English again, because this is the Mindset English channel. English is not just a language. English is a bridge to better information, global ideas, international opportunities, personal growth. When you use English to learn about money, mindset, and life, English becomes meaningful. Meaningful English stays with you. And that's why learning English through real-life topics works so well. Here is something many people don't realize. When you improve your English, you expand your thinking, you access new perspectives, you increase your value. This supports financial freedom indirectly, but powerfully. English gives you choice. Choice is freedom. Now let's talk about patience. This is where many people fail. They want fast results, they want instant change, but real freedom grows slowly, like a tree. Roots grow before you see anything, and if you don't respect that process, nothing lasts. Be patient with yourself. Progress is happening even when it feels quiet. Another important idea is identity. Financially free people don't just do different things. They think of themselves differently. They see themselves as learners, planners, builders, not victims, not passengers, not powerless. When your identity changes, behavior follows. Now let me give you a very practical daily question. Every day, ask yourself, what is one small action today that helps my future self? Just one. It could be listening to English for 10 minutes, learning one useful idea, saving a small amount, avoiding an unnecessary expense, choosing focus over distraction. One action. That's it. This question keeps you intentional. Here is a powerful truth. You do not need to change your entire life to change your future. You only need to change the direction. A small turn today creates a different destination later. Now let's talk about fear. Fear never fully disappears. Even financially free people feel fear. The difference is they act with fear, not after fear disappears. Waiting to feel ready keeps people stuck. Action creates clarity. Clarity builds confidence. Confidence creates momentum. Let me say something very important before we end. You are not behind, you are not late, you are not weak, you are learning. And learning is the foundation of freedom. Final message. Financial freedom is not about escaping life. It is about owning it. It is about choosing intentionally, learning continuously, and acting patiently. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be consistent. And you don't need permission to start. You already have everything you need to begin. Thank you for being here on the Mindset English channel. If this series helped you, like the video, subscribe for more mindset-based English learning, and share it with someone who needs clarity. Remember, English is not just a language. It's a tool for thinking, growing, and building your future. Stay focused, stay patient, and keep moving forward. You are closer than you think.